assume that it's going to be one of the few issues that the phone's going to have, like a lot of new platforms do in the beginning of their lives. But really, I think it's just another nail in the coffin for Windows Phone 7.
It's a Windows tax, but you pay it in terms of bandwidth. I mean, not intended as a joke. It is kind of a Windows tax if it isn't being very efficient with your bandwidth. It's, they used to joke about support issues with Linux or all kinds of things like that. When in fact, of course, the reality is you have to have your computer serviced by having a person clean up, malware and I don't know, doing all kinds of defrag operations and things like that. And the other thing is, the person who complained about this, as far as I could tell, I saw it the first time on Slashdot, and it was linking to Paul Turot. Is this how
I was just about to quote him. Yeah, I've got his quote up here.
This is one of the biggest fans of Microsoft. This is the person who was attacking Android and saying, "Oh, it's a patent mess and whatever." And he calls. He was quoted by Fab from the Linux Outlaws show. He was quoted as saying it's stupid about Windows Phone 7. And remember, this is the guy who used to boast and he used to brag about this, this phone platform and everything Microsoft is exciting to him. So even if he's complaining about it, then and he probably uses that, so it takes up bandwidth.
Well, I can quote exactly what he said. If I may, I'll just throw in a paragraph of what he had to respond with this complaint of the data limit being reached with Windows Phone 7. He says, yes, this is a curiously common problem, and I'm sort of shocked Microsoft hasn't addressed this publicly yet, either to confirm it or offer a fix. Basically, what's happening is that the phone is utilising the 3G data connection even when Wi-Fi is available. It's not clear what the apps or parts of the operating system is causing this, but definitely widely reported. Microsoft, if this is your fault, as I suspect, you're costing people money on this one. And that's from Paul Thurrott, and the link is, again, on the show notes, which will be on my article. So, yes.
One point I want to make very quickly, I'll just make it very fast, is one thing that's been revealed is that Windows Phone 7 or Windows in general on phones is continuing to lose market share despite the release. The other thing is there is a big piece of news now about one of the presidents of Microsoft leaving again after almost all the presidents basically left and got replaced. I'm not sure if they even found replacements for these people. And Steve Ballmer is already hurrying with the damage control, with an official kind of statement to all the employees and the press, trying to kind of play down the seriousness of this. Goblin or team was talking about a prediction of his that Ballmer would probably be out of the company by July, and I think it's even more likely now to happen. We see this.
I mean, what could I just say in my defence? Because I was accused of playing it safe with my prediction, but I've been saying that mid 2011, since about early last year. I think it was around about the time when the Kin was first announced. That was before it even flopped. So just to set the record straight, because I'm convinced it's going to be July 2011. Steve Ballmer will leave either voluntarily or forced out. Is my view. Sorry, Roy, I don't mean to interrupt you.
There's a quote that's usually attributed to politics, but it seems quite fitting in this case. Never attribute to malice what can easily be occurred by incompetence, something like that.
Yes, I'll pretend I interpreted that correctly.
Usually it applies to politics. I think the original quote was about politics and about governments and things like that, and governments' ways of handling different things. But yeah, it does seem to be to apply from time to time to Microsoft. And other companies, but they don't know if they've got it as their motto or something, and then the response track of blame someone, find someone to blame,
Well, I've often said if you type in Microsoft blames into Google, it's quite surprising the amount of hits you get and the number of people that Microsoft have blamed, according to the articles that Google returns.
I mean, it's as I say, it's one thing when if your desktop or your laptop is doing that on your home connection or your work or college internet connection. That's one thing. It's bad, but it's one thing. If it is just excessively polling things and trying to get updates and all that, but tell you what it might be actually. It might be all the DRM, all the different things that it's got to phone home for. every 5 minutes, it's got to contact millions of different servers, millions of different Microsoft partners to say, I'm not a thief, I'm not a thief, I'm not a thief. And if it can't get through to one of them, if these servers are clogged at one end, they say, right, just tag that request onto the end. So because what it does say, it does seem to be sending these data in bursts, large chunks of data, seemingly in chunks and patterns. So that's what it could be. It could be all the DRM that's flown home all over the place.
Yes, it's well. Hopefully, there'll be more on this story. I mean, it's been a very bad beginning of the year so far.
No, that's not true because they got copy and paste now, and they had a very special press release about it, and the press was very, very excited, of course, because the press was excited about two things, and I saw a critical article about what the press is concentrating on. The first thing is about Apple doing something which Linux had basically implemented in 1998, some sort. And the second thing that was kind of exciting them is the copy and paste in Windows Phone 7, which basically baffled people because maybe it became more of an epic thing because everyone was talking about the deficiency of a very basic feature, and that's now basically implemented into the part of the platform if anybody cares at all, because as far as we know, at least as far as I think just before Christmas they were talking about having supposedly, I put it in scare quotes, sold 1.5 million phones, but that's just warehouses. So we don't really know how many people bought these things, but it could be less than 1 million people who actually own these devices after a month and a half, or almost 2 months in the market. So,
but it has been a very bad start to the year. I didn't just mean Windows Phone 7. We've already had the allegations of Connect and the Red Ring of Death, and we've also had the Hotmail issue, and now we've got a Phone 7 issue as well. I mean, I love the way that Microsoft is innovating with this copy and paste for the Windows Phone 7. I seem to remember they were telling us that users didn't want that when they first decided to cut it out. And I've got a question for both of you, Roy or Gordon. Does this suggest to you, I mean, it certainly gives me the impression that Windows Phone 7 was rushed out, that they had features in mind, that this cut, copy, and paste maybe was going to be present all along, right from the beginning, but because they rushed it out, they decided to go without this feature and make it a rolling release, if you will. I don't know, Roy, have you got any views on
this is what a lot of companies do, not just Microsoft, but Microsoft are big proponents of it, is they'll get it out and then fix it afterwards,
which is fine. I'll just say one thing very quickly, sorry, Gordon, before I interrupt you. But it's I've got no problem with rolling release, but when it's a key basic feature, something like copy and paste, and a user is expected to hang around while Microsoft get their act together to introduce that, and also when Microsoft are denying that the user needs to use copy and paste, and then only succumbing because everybody starts complaining. Yeah, I think that's the issue I have with this particular type of rolling release.
I think it's the idea of that isn't so much of a big deal. The problem is most companies, if they're sensible, they'll put out a reasonably competent product. Okay, there might be some bugs in it, there might be some features around the edges, some extra sort of frills around the edges that they want to introduce but aren't ready yet, and they can tack them on later on. That's fine, I don't have a problem with that. But as you've said, simple things like copy and paste, they really should be. It should have got to a certain level of maturity before they say, right, we'll put it out and it's good enough. And it seems to me that the amount of things, the basics that Windows Phone 7 is missing, it was undercooked. It was desperate to get out, to get some sort of a foothold, because people expect Microsoft to be in those markets, and it reflects badly if they're not in those markets.
They tried to gain this recently, and they failed, so I think it was a rushed response to. I'm not sure if it was supposed to be complementary to the keyner. I'm not sure, to be honest with you, it seemed kind of bizarre. I mean, shortly after it failed, they already had something kind of, not just a replacement for it.
I mean, I think, if I could just say, these a lot of these mistakes or sort of issues that Microsoft has with the Windows Phone 7 would be forgivable if we're in the infancy of the smartphone market. I mean, what Microsoft, well, they do realise, but what's happened now is we have mature products, like Gordon said. We have the iPhone, we have Android, which are both mature products, and here you now have
Linux coming out pretty strongly now, and
yeah,
he's been introduced
exactly.
at CES.